20 minutes now to the top of the hour. We're back with the most politics in the morning. The Republican field for 2012 is already crowded, and this morning there's another name to consider, that of Indiana Congressman Mike Pence.
He won a presidential straw poll at the Values Voter Summit this weekend, a meeting that in the process raised some questions about the marriage of the Tea Party and traditional Christian conservatives. Congressman Mike Pence joins us now from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Congressman, thank you so much. What are we to make of your victory?
Well, obviously, you know, when my family and I were walking out of the Purdue-Ball State game on Saturday and we got the text message that we had prevailed, we were honored by it, confidence expressed by people there, and we were humbled. But our focus really remains, and I think the focus of the people at the Values Voter Summit remains on November the 2nd. I mean, this is, you know, we'll let the future take care of itself. But I think if anything connected to people last week, it was more the message than any particular messenger, and it's that the American people want to see this Congress come back to the common sense and common values of the American people.
Congressman, there's some question this morning as to how the agendas of Christian conservatives and the Tea Party mesh with each other. I know that you're a person who's got support from both sides, but the Tea Party, by and large, hasn't really put moral issues at the forefront of its activism. It's been about fiscal conservatism, smaller government. Can those two things live comfortably together, or might the focus on moral issues, abortion, gay marriage, not sit well with what the overall message of the Tea Party is?
Well, John, I think it's, you know, I hear that media narrative, but I got to tell you, from when I was one of the folks leading the battle against the Wall Street bailout, and then saw the emergence of the Tea Party movement that is still very much in full force today, I got to tell you, I've never seen the bifurcation. The people that are coming out to Tea Party rallies, to town hall meetings, they're tired of runaway federal spending under both political parties. They're tired of the deficits and the bailouts and the takeovers. But they also, in my experience, embrace the broad mainstream values of the American people, a commitment to the sanctity of life, the sanctity of marriage. So I think, you know, I think that it's a bit of an artificial distinction. These are everyday Americans, many of whom have never been involved in politics before, who are stepping to the forefront. Yes, they're concerned about spending, but it's not just about getting spending under control. It's also about just getting back to common sense and common values.
Congressman, a question about Christine O'Donnell, the Republican choice for Senate out of Delaware. I'm sure you know that a new clip has come to the forefront showing her saying, well, she dabbled in witchcraft during high school. She's kind of pushed back and said, listen, who of us didn't hang around with questionable people in high school? But there have been other things out there about student loans and how she makes a living. Do you have any misgivings about O'Donnell as a candidate?
Oh, gosh, look, you know, it's really something when Bill Maher becomes the vanguard of religion in America, isn't it? You know, I mean, welcome to the silly season. Look, you know, you asked me about last weekend, and, you know, I don't think it was about me. I don't think Delaware's about Christine O'Donnell. I don't think Alaska's about Joe Miller as much as it's about the message. And I know there'll be this nitpicking and attempts to take things out of context. Certainly she has some explaining to do about that to her voters in Delaware, but at the end of the day, what's bringing people out, and I think what's creating a momentum for what could be real change in America, is that the American people are tired of the borrowing, the spending, the bailouts, and the takeovers, and they're just looking for men and women that are willing to stand up and be counted and take on the establishment.
Congressman, you said that, you know, Bill Maher is now at the vanguard and it's the silly season. Obviously, Bill Maher is having fun with this. He's a comedian, but other establishment Republicans have rung in on this too. Karl Rove, again, yesterday, very critical of Christine O'Donnell, saying that she's talked about a lot of, quote, nutty things, has called her background, quote, checkered, and he said there are serious questions that have been raised about Miss O'Donnell's background, character, statements, and previous actions. You said that she needs to answer to the voters of Delaware, but do you have any questions, or are you fully comfortable with everything you know about her?
Well, look, I don't vote in Delaware. Christine O'Donnell, I think, was right yesterday.
At some point, look, you might have to work with her.
Yeah, John, I think she was right yesterday to focus on communicating with her voters in Delaware about what she said on that. And, you know, I think again, I think we're in the silly season here. I think we're going to continue to see efforts whether it's in Florida or in Alaska or in Nevada or in Delaware or here in Michigan, where we got people like Tim Walberg, a strong conservative, fighting to return to Congress from Battle Creek. Look, you're going to see an effort, I think, by the left in this country to change the subject to personalities, away from the subject of the message, which is we've got to get this economy moving again. We've got to get spending under control, and that will require sending people to Washington, D.C. that have the courage to stand up to the status quo and to put our fiscal house in order.
Congressman, a question about Alaska. We have Lisa Murkowski, the sitting senator, a Republican who Friday said, I'm going to run as a write-in. She, of course, was defeated by a Tea Party candidate in her bid for re-election for her own seat. Do you think that she has basically, by splitting the Republican vote, hasn't she just handed Alaska to the Democrats?
Well, look, I don't think so. I think Joe Miller will still do fine up there. It feels a little bit like last night in the Colts-Giants game when that Giants player just threw his helmet into the stands. I mean, look, Senator Murkowski, I got a lot of respect for her, but look, the voters spoke in that primary. They chose a principled conservative in Joe Miller to be their standard bearer, and I expect he's going to be going to the United States Senate on November the 2nd.
Indiana Congressman Mike Pence, I clearly need to watch more football. Thank you so much for being with us.
Good to see you this morning. Thanks.
Thank you, Candy.